answered. These rooks feel a little clumsy, not a lot of coordination in black's position. So rook to g4 looks nice, but queen f6 is me that black is going to make a threat on the next move as well, and that is rook to b6. So I'm wondering if f3 was played so that the rooks can double, but you also defend the b2 pawn. So I think perhaps f3 was a nice multi-purpose move there. I am expecting rook e2 or rook g2 here, regardless, doubling on the g file next.
What I'm looking for too is after the doubling on the g file, bishop d6, and then where is the next move? I'm trying to see if there's any tactical shots there. I don't see anything in knight. No, knight h6 doesn't work. I don't have a dark square check. It's close. So let's see what comes.
Looks like a very solid move here. I really don't see an answer to just simply. It's a very tough position to survive. You might have to move the h-pawn so that you're not getting, but you're also walking in to a really unpleasant discovered check on h7. So I'm finding it very difficult here, James, to make moves that do not lose heavy material. This bishop has almost nowhere to go, dominated by this knight on f5.
And of course, a nice double. Just get a nice double and try to bring our queen in. Where is that at? Don't know yet. So that's going to be the hard part. Is after getting the double, after we get everything that we want, bishop moves away from the back right. How do we actually finish?
Something that's a little bit interesting about the podium here is that actually the medalists in the open section, so those will be your top three, they qualify for the total World Chess Championship. Now, if you're as confused as I am about how many World Championships we've got, just remember that this is the newest one announced, Fast Classical by FIDE. So second and third place are actually very relevant for that. And of course, we have quite a lot of cash, 70,000 euros going to first place. That's Magnus Carlsen. But of course, 50,000 for second and 36,000 euros for third place. And it goes all the way down to 35th getting paid out. So absolutely, these games, while they might not impact first place anymore, they are very important for the players.
Total world champ. That's going to be nice. Fascicle. Chat is undefeated. Chat there, Fascicle, which is fast. Total world championship, yes, that was announced. So see, it's all over X, aka Twitter, by FIDE. Others, you can read about it.
Queen e6 in this game, by the way. I think we're about to see the end. While the f3 pawn can be captured, e7 is a move coming up next, and I suspect at this point we could probably just tune in to the full cam, because e7 is going to win that bishop, and I can't imagine Arjun does not win this game. This will put him at 9.5 points, and I believe, rough calculations, it appears as though right now Arjun has better tie breaks than Hans, and it could remain that way. Of course, everything has to be determined after the round is over, but it's like he has a good chance to have the better tie breaks and potentially claim one of those second or third place positions.
There we go. Very nice. Magnus being the winner section already. Now we have in this game Arjun looking nice with knight f7 coming next. Nice make resignation.
Yep.
Cafe knight f7.
Resignation. A very nice win by Arjun Erigaisi, 9.5 points to end the event. We'll have to wait and see exactly where that places him, but he's done everything in his power to put himself at the top of the table, which is why we're having a look at Hans Niemann against Maxime Vacher-Lagrave. To wonder, if I'm seeing all these other players on 9.5, do you start to get overly ambitious for a potential win? Meanwhile, Maxime at 8.5 points, a draw is just not enough for him. So, in fact, it's Maxime who is probably feeling like he wants to be a bit ambitious here, but the position on the board, James, does not lend itself to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'd be pushing a little too hard here, looking for a win. There's no real chances unless we see some type of and hold. Wait a second, a little hezzy there. A little hezzy, bring the piece back. Wait a second, do I want to go there or not? We checking checks there. C check. I guess king d7 and going around the back way, but b3 hangs and a6 hangs. And again, we're back in a situation where it seems like they're both playing for 2 routes.
f6 square. I'm not sure what was being looked at, but potentially rook c6 is a likely move after the rook gets attacked, and instead a change of mind, change of heart. Bishop c5 instead of bishop f6.
Yes, and he hesitated twice there. He was like, I go bishop c5, bishop f6, but it's more of a clear way to say, okay, I'm looking for some trades. King to f1 says, I want my king to be ready if we do trade, running the king up to the board.
Yeah, the white king is joining the action, and most importantly, if the bishop trades, which I feel like I do expect here, then if black tries to go after this b-pawn, you'll always be able to defend it. Instead, we see a5 from Hans, and it feels like we're getting closer and closer to full liquidation.
It's a matter of time. I believe king e2, getting closer to the center, bringing the king closer to that side of the board where the action is. Could be some things going on. Get the king all the way to c4. Kind of annoying. Maybe you are playing for a little more.
The loose prediction at the moment, James, is that, of course, Artemiev, because he's been leading the event, the tournament he's had, he will most certainly have the best tie breaks. Of course, nothing confirmed. Wait to see after all results are in, but it would appear that he has the best tie breaks. And then after, Arjun would have the next best tie breaks compared to either MVL or Hans. That seems to be the most likely, but of course, nothing confirmed. And we still need to learn what the result is going to be from this game. With 20 seconds, under 20 seconds for Hans Niemann, you start to think about the clock as well.
If you lose the clock as a piece, I would say that. You lose on time, the position is even, you still lost the game. It's important. Wonders happen when you do get low on time. Fabi in the background. We got a Fabi cam. Taking off the game. So, okay, this is a draw. Walks away.
Yeah, it feels that way when you're spectating, but for these two that are in the game, I don't think that it feels that way at all. Fabi drew his final round game to end the event.
Maybe a light check, see where he goes. Maybe knight d2. Knight d2 could be really pushing.
It is equal here. There's really nothing between the players. As soon as those A and B pawns disappear, if they're traded off equally for one another, that is really going to signal that we are headed towards a draw. But for the moment, because they're on the board, I think we have to appreciate that there is still some life in the position.
And MVL with a big time edge.
Knight c7, intending knight d5. So white is first to deliver the checks, knight c4 or knight e4. However, knight d5 is certainly the more disruptive move when it does happen.
Very annoying. That will be a fork in the center of the board there, and that would surely give the game up.
And a reminder that this is a fight for most likely third place in the event. It's safe to assume that second is going to Artemiev. We see knight e4 check from Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, knight into c5.
Might just take a draw here.
Yep, it is possible to repeat. Now, do you think that did he just offer a draw? I didn't quite see
Yeah,
that.
he looked at him. He looked at him. Yeah, he gave him
Just
the look.
looked.
Like, yo,
Okay.
you know, the look. He gave him the look.
Yep.
The look. Yeah.
Non-verbal draw offer. That feels like an offer back. But of course, it has to be 3 times.
There it is.
That is almost certainly a draw offer. And indeed, that gives Hans Niemann 9.5 points to finish the event. First of all, we can say, a fantastic result for Hans, but we have to wait and see how the tie breaks shake down. It would appear as though Arjun will have the better tie breaks compared to Hans. These are the standings as they look right now. not only a great result for Hans, but unfortunately, it appears he's likely going to miss the podium. Waiting for some 100% final confirmation on that. But as it stands, Magnus Carlsen, 10.5 points, is your clear winner. A point ahead of the field. Artemiev was leading the event for so long, had an amazing run. 9.5 points, a clear second on tie breaks, and Arjun currently in third with Hans in fourth.
You got to be happy. Obviously, okay, you wanted more, but you did incredibly well and bounced back from a slow start to finish at fourth here, right behind the heavy hitters, Magnus Carlsen, Artemiev, and Arjun here. Where fourth place is heavy hitting too as well. Look at the field behind you. Even world champion current, Lukesh, 17 with 8.5. It's a very respectable score here, but that puts him at 17, tied with all the others at 8.5.
That's right. Let's see what happens here, because every result that comes in affects those computer tie breaks. So while these individual games don't seem that important, they really are. So we just can't confirm anything in terms of final standings until every game is over. You can see on cam there, it is Sindarov and Isipenko, which looks like it's going to be a draw. Meanwhile, Dominguez Perez is beating Jan Erdomush. We can probably catch the final moments of that one. It looks like a draw here between Sindarov and Isipenko.
Dominguez
And
just
indeed,
win.
Renier has won. Yep. The results are all coming in. The top boards, many draws. Arjun with the lone victory, which is quite meaningful for the standings. And Lenier with the victory over Yez Erdomush will also move to 9.5 points. So we'll see if Lenier in the mix starts to affect that podium, right? He's had a fantastic event, and he now joins the 9.5 group right behind Hans Niemann. But we await to see exactly how those final standings are going to shake down.
Incredible. Great job from him too as well. Again, as someone that you didn't have on your top 5.
And some of the games still in progress. You can see the bottom of your screen there. Firouzja is still playing. Avronian, Mihail Sarin, Alexander Grishuk. And isn't it incredible, James? You know, going down that list of names that I just said out loud, and none of them are even close to in contention for that top spot or the podium or top 5 even. That's how tough this tournament is.
Yeah, incredibly tough, and also it says a lot too. I see someone in the chat saying, no losses for Dominguez, and I was like, yeah, let me check to see who else is like that. If you look around, even Artemiev at the top up there with no losses, I see near MVL, no L's. Like, that's incredible. Great chest. Great chest overall in the tournament.
We already know that Goryachkina has won the women's section and Magnus Carlsen has won the open. We're waiting to see what the podiums will look like in both sections. I think we can say for the women, though, we know it's Goryachkina, and then it should be Zhu Jin'er, and then Hampi Kuneru in third place. So we do know the podium, I believe, in the women's section.
Let me just wait for games to finish here as all the games are finishing quite soon here. We're down to seconds, or under a minute at least. It's now on one game. And Firouzja having 2 minutes in that game. Like he's gonna win.
I'm gonna bring up Vincent's game here just because I was looking through the list. There are 2 queens on the board.
What
the
is
white
this?
king is running away, but running away to actually deliver checkmate on G8.
Wow.
So this is looking like Rook F6 is forced. King E7 will get mated, but King E8 is safe. And what on earth is this position?
This is crazy.
Queen D6 here looks like a likely move, but then I imagine there's Rook takes and Queen D7 to trade the queens.
All kind of tactics sit here. Beautiful. This is a fun game for sure.
Okay, the best move in this position, James, white to play after Queen G2 according to the engine. best move?
Let's see. Oh my
Well,
goodness.
it was played. It was actually played by Vincent. Queen to d5, setting up
Ugh.
rook g7 and queen takes. Unbelievable. I can't believe it. What a move.
Yeah, that's nasty. That's nasty. Queen d5. He's like, okay, cool. I see you, big fella. I see you. I'm not touching that.
That's amazing. Rook e7, and now you're starting to realize, oh, there's nothing I can do. King d7 threatens queen to g8, checkmate. Very difficult to prevent. I think now it is going to officially be over, and not the performance that Vincent was looking for, but he will end with a rather satisfying move, queen d5, and rather satisfying result.
Very rare to see two queens and a rook like this on the board, and it's still play left. Seems like this game is over though. I see no moves. Clock has ran out. I think he had resigned here.
Yep, absolutely. You can see the amount of games, they're slowly all coming to their conclusion here. Everyone who is in contention for those top spots has wrapped up their games. We see a draw from Robson, the win from Vincent, Faustino losing the last round, and Prishuk in the mixed end at 9 points, which would still be a very decent result in the end.
Very decent scores. Games left.
Yeah, there are a few games left. I think none that truly impact the standings at the very top. But I think the other thing that I always remember about tiebreaks is computer tiebreaks are a bit mysterious. What are those tiebreaks? My understanding a lot of the time is that it is actually these random games that you think don't matter, but it's calculated based on your result against your opponents and your opponent's results in general. If you play players that have high scores, then your score against them is valued higher because, well, if your opponents did really well in the event and you beat people that were in the top 20, clearly you had a tougher tournament, and so the computer tiebreak will favor you. So this is a reminder that these games that are played on lower boards often sneakily determine the actual top seed.
Okay, yeah, I want you to win all your games, but not against me. When you lose against me, you beat
Exactly.
Can you do that for me, please? Can you just...
That's ideal. If you play players that win every single game they play but lose to you, I don't think anyone is doing better than you in tiebreaks.
It's a team effort. It's chess. It's always a team game.
Interesting endgame that I'm seeing. And by the way, I should point out, Pranav is his game is completed. That game is not ongoing. I think the chat all has a little bit of PTSD seeing Pranav's name going still. He's capable of 160, 170 moves, but his game is completed. Just like to point that out.
Just so you know, guys, because he had us all there. He knew everybody was watching. Yeah. He waited, locked the game up. He's like, "Oh, all the games are done? Cool. Now let's go on to 16."
Yeah, Ali Reza has a position here that should be winning, but definitely requires some delicate care. The 2 pawns going up the board, especially with the knight, should be able to be escorted. What you want to do is, I would say, probably avoid, for the most part, playing a move like b4, and that might still work, but then you see that white has a little bit of a blockading idea, but maybe you can play b4, knight a5, and b3. Just feels like something that you have to be careful with. My instinct is that the knight wants to be on c4, And really, if the black king can kind of move up the board, that's really, really nice, but difficult to achieve because of the pressure that white is always going to have on that d4 pawn. So white's likely to just shuffle, shuffle, and shuffle, and black wants to maybe bring the knight to the c5 square so that you can play b4 with the knight on c5, and then all of these squares, including the knight, would cover everything on the third rank.
You know, we don't want the bishop to be sacrificing at the wrong moment on one of the pawns and winning the other one. So it is very, very precise. And also some Zuxon type of abilities too as well. 95 can check, pushing, bringing the king up, zigzagging my way down the board, the knight and the 2 pawns.
Bishop to e6 played here. I think this one is one of the last games still going on the, let's just call it the top boards. You know, it's not at the very top, but definitely still an important result to get. I think Rishuk is the other one that still, you know, playing for 9 points is still significant here. So these are the ones that we're trying to pay attention to. And again, some difficulty converting this endgame for Alireza.
Here we go, boys and girls. I see, okay, that game's over. Rook versus 2 on the second board up there at the top. And lay. Crazy game, too. What's the piece count? 3-6. 3-6. White's probably better. Looking around, we got a rook and bishop versus rook at the bottom there. Those are always the tough ones from the defending side.
I think it's a little bit funny that we kind of have the exact same game going on side by side, and that is 2 players that I'm not familiar with, Damage and Berend, are actually playing the same endgame as Baijin Shi and Alireza Firouzja, just at the bottom left of the screen. Now, obviously, the Alireza game is a little bit further back. You know, the pawns haven't advanced as far up the board, but both look to be winning by probably a very similar idea.
I actually thought it was 3 times too, but we just have the board up twice. So I was like, bro, how is this like? Did somebody get the memo or something? Like, how is it up 3 times? But no, it's actually up 2.
That would have been crazy. We had the same endgame 3 different times.
3
That's
different
too
boards?
much.
Oh no, something's up. Something definitely up.
And it's also my understanding that the tie breaks are only for determining first place. So there's certainly not going to be any tie breaks. It's going to be computerized in order to determine podiums and other placements. That's only to determine the champion. And we have the Blitz happening starting tomorrow, James. And actually the move b4 has changed the evaluation in Alireza's game. I was mentioning I don't think you actually want to play b4, but Alireza was having some difficulty advancing the pawns, and rightly so. But I don't think this was the answer.
Yeah, now we have to figure out where does the knight go now. We could go to a5 and try to push b3, but we can't. From there, you're like stuck. You can king b4, we lose the pawn, and then you can't move the knight because it defends the b3 pawn. And pushing b2 would allow king c2. Makes it really enough in order to figure out here. Apparently, that was wrong though. Like, oh no, we're good. No, we're winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that the knight can make it to the c4 square with the pawn on b2, but still, it's a bit mysterious why this is no good. I think that the bishop maybe should have been on the inside here of the pawn, but I have to say that was not exactly sure why the evaluation went all the way down and then all the way back up.
I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, what is the? Oh, maybe b2 and knight c4. Somehow that works. b2, king c2, knight c4, takes king d3, or is that a? Yeah, king 3. Something like that.
And b2, bishop to a2 can be tried, but instead king c2. Now knight c4 is forced.
takes. Is it walk the king up?
Yeah, so after king b4, I'm assuming that white wants to try bishop to d3, and there's a really remarkable win after bishop d3, which is probably worth showing. So I'll just put it on the board here. It's actually just knight e5, and the bishop is unfortunately, like, you can't take the pawn, right? You have to move this bishop, and then the king comes, and then what you want to do is play king a2, king a1, so that you can play b1, and if you prevent that, of course, now the king slides over like this to c3 and gets it done this way. So one way or another, Ali Reza, he's going to punch that result home, I think, and actually we're seeing exactly that on the board. So knight is incoming to d2. This is probably going to be resignation.
There it is.
It is.
Ali Reza for Russia. Very strong. Good points.
Here we go. So it looks like actually both of those endgames are concluding in a similar fashion. So good to see that 2 pawns and a knight are able to beat a bishop, but there's really not much else going on. Rishuk is playing this endgame on, but yeah, there isn't much here. I imagine there's still a decent chance that he wins this endgame, especially with the H pawns on the board. But yeah, not much to play for, James.
Yeah, hope for the mate. Come on, bro. Please, just push your king in the center, bro. Please. Push your king in the center. Even then, it doesn't even matter. It's not a mate. But maybe you could get away with some weird, is that rook d6? King over d6. Unbelievable.
King f2. Definitely looking drawish here, but Rishuk looking to end the event on 9 points, and I think it's fair to say that all of the relevant action, James, has concluded.
That's it, guys. Looking like a draw. Looking like a draw here. But, yeah, we have some, we know what's going on in the standings. Magnus won. She won as well. Congratulations to them. We had some different changes in the standings through the rest of the medalists, etc. People fall.
Yeah,
People
I think
fall.
James, I don't have the personally, I don't have the stamina to sit here and commentate this dead drawn position that does not contribute to the standings. So let's go ahead and talk about the standings. Regardless
Here we
of
go.
the result of this one, Magnus is at 10.5 points. Artemiev, Erigaisi, Hans, and Lenier at 9.5. And of course, some great results there for the players at 9 points. Ye is actually finished at 8.5, so a tough conclusion those last couple rounds for him. However, you're starting to see those familiar names: Wesley, Sindarov, Maxime, Geary, Daniel Dubov up at 9. But it was really a story of Lenier with an incredible performance. One of the older players in the competition. Hans, I think, barely missing out on the podium, although wait for full confirmation on that. That's how it looks at the moment. Arjun claiming 3rd, and Artemiev 2nd, with Magnus as your winner.
And it's incredible, guys. It's incredible that we had the winner again. It's Magnus. That's what Magnus does, right? We also had congratulations to Goryeshkina as well. Yeah, people in the standings and people everywhere, obviously making it to Festival, as we say, Total World Championship and stuff like that. So it's been a great day, guys. That's it from us. We'll see you guys very soon. As me and Aman will be back for the Blitz starting.
That's right. See you guys then.
At TotalEnergies, we are staying the course of our transition strategy. Working with our partners and drawing on our heritage and technical expertise, we are building a multi-energy company. In Qatar, TotalEnergies produces oil and gas with local partners and contributes to the development of solar-based electricity and research initiatives aligned with the country's evolving energy landscape. TotalEnergies is moving towards energy that is more reliable, more affordable, and more sustainable.
Chess is changing, and this is the next big step. Total Chess is a new FIDE-approved World Championship tour. Created by the team behind Norway Chess, it combines Fast Classic, Rapid, and Blitz into one title. A pilot is set for autumn 2026. In 2027, the inaugural tour begins, and we will crown the first ever FIDE World Combined Champion. 4 events a year, hosted in cities around the world. A clear season structure, a bigger audience, and a stronger presence for the sport. We are partnering with sponsors, investors, host cities, and media partners to build something with long-term global impact. If you're looking for a global platform with real momentum, this is it. Let's talk about how you can be part of it.